Alright guys, I want to welcome you back to some more of the Great Ace Attorney 2. And it looks like, in my opinion, we are finally coming to an end of Saseki's trial in this one. So we're going to see this one through and get this guy's acquittal a second time. So with that said, I hope you all continue to enjoy watching. Let's make magic happen. Alright everyone, and we are back. Mr. Shakespeare was meddling with the gas in the pipe for a very sinister reason himself. To cause the gas stove in Mr. Natsume's room to go out, thereby asphyxiating the occupant. But once Mr. Natsume had been arrested, his room was under constant surveillance by the police. In the circumstances, Mr. Shakespeare had no reason to blow air into the gas pipe. His intended victim being in a prison cell. With the need to tamper with the gas removed, the poison in the pipe lay dormant. And then, 3 days ago now, the situation changed again. Right! Mr. Natsume's trial, which took place here at the Old Bailey, came to an end. The trial in which the man stood accused of stabbing Miss Green in the back, but was duly acquitted. That resulted in Mr. Natsume returning to his lodgings for the first time in 2 days. And that very night, his gas stove mysteriously went out, and Mr. Shakespeare was mysteriously poisoned. In conclusion, the poison that was present on the mouth of the gas pipe had been put out there in the victim's room some 4 days ago. Oh, sorry, 4 days earlier. Mary! With that new understanding, it becomes clear that this letter was all part of the plan. What plan? The court will recall that the note gave instructions to visit the Slug and Salad at 5 o'clock, and that recipient should tell nobody else. The reason for those instructions are now clear. To ensure that the lodger will not be at home at the stated time. To make sure I wasn't home? Exactly. While you are out, Miss Green could safely slip into your room, knowing that she wouldn't be disturbed. You mean to say that letter was written by Miss Green, yes. And in order to cover her tracks, she took it away with her when she left. Just after she smeared poison over the mouth of the gas pipe in your room. Order! Order! What do you have to say for yourself, witness? Just who are you? Why did you try to kill me? Miss Green's motive should be obvious. It's all tied up with someone whose name we've heard several times already during the course of this trial. So, that's what's behind all this. You will share your apparent understanding with the court, please, counsel. Which person is behind this woman's motive for the attack on the victim's life? Well, pretty much the guy that kept being mentioned. And the guy in her picture, Duncan Ross.
Take that!
Duncan Ross? That's right. Before the defendant, Mr. Natsume, took up residence in the lodgings at Mr. Gardeb's, somebody else was renting the room. Mr. Duncan Ross. I knew I'd heard that name somewhere else. It was all over the papers a month ago, when the man died in strange circumstances at the haunted lodgings. That does ring a vague... Ah! Of course, yes! I remember now! The young man they claimed was strangled by the convict's curse or some such. Sadly, my lord, it wasn't a curse of any kind. Nor was it an accident. The man died as a result of Mr. Shakespeare's blowing into the gas pipe and causing a gas to leak into the room. It was murder, plain and simple. Ah! Ha 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 ha. Well, what do you know? The world is so unfair. Curses, curious deaths, that's all people care about. If it's an interesting story, they want to know. It doesn't cross their minds that real people are involved. And once they're bored, just 1 month later, just 1 month later, once the story's lost its appeal, everyone's forgotten him. You mean you... Duncan was... Mr. Ross was Miss Green's fiancé. Fiancé? You may not... Wow. It's so hard to read sometimes, man. My mind is reading it properly, but my mouth doesn't convey it. You may not have known until now who Miss Green really is, Mr. Shakespeare. But she's known exactly who you are all along. Because you're her sworn enemy. The murderer who took the life of the man she was to marry. Marry? Miss Green, is it not the case that in order to exact revenge on Mr. Shakespeare, you smeared poison over the end of the gas pipe? This is all quite extraordinary. Am I correct in my understanding that you now accuse both parties, counsel? Each on different counts of murder? Yes, my lord, that's correct.
Objection!
Inhaling so deeply, it appears that my fledgling learned friend has taken in a lungful of dubious gas that's causing his judgment to be clouded. What? Why would Mr. Shakespeare have wanted to kill these lodgers, as you say? You have completely failed to provide a motive to substantiate your accusation against the man. Yes, that's right, Mr. Reaper, my liege. I have been slighted. 'Tis lies, all lies. I deny every utterance. And you'll have to forgive me, Mr. Naruhodo, sir. But I don't intend to admit to anything either. Miss Green, I'm sure you'll think I'm being very rude, but I'm not going to be sent to the gallows for the likes of this scoundrel.
Objection!
But you broke into the man's room. If you didn't do it to smear poison on the pipe, what was your reason? I thought I'd have a look around, that's all. Sorry. You're right, I suspected him. So I thought perhaps I might find some evidence or something in his room. Evidence that it was him who took Duncan's life. Oh, vileness! Oh, villainy! Oh, tyranny! Oh, rotundity of woman! But in any case, whene'er I leave my room, I do turn to the key in the lock. That whole place is falling apart. The locks and the doors are no different. Duncan showed me once how to unlock the door with some terps and a piece of wire. Oh, awfulness! Oh, artfulness! Oh, tyranny! Oh, profanity of woman! We will consider your trespassing on some future occasion, but for now, tell the court what you found. What evidence your search revealed. Well, I spotted the note that I sent him lying on the floor. When I went to pick it up, I noticed something. One of the floorboards was loose, and underneath it, I discovered a secret hiding place. Yes, we also discovered that hiding place. Inside, we found a newspaper cutting, a photograph, and an empty tin box. Ah, yes. Well, the thing is, when I found it, the box wasn't empty. What? There was something in it? Yes. This rather nice key. What are you doing with that? What the? Every ounce of color is drained from his face. Give it here! Give it to me now! It's mine. I inherited it. What was that, witness? What did you say? You inherited it? No, What's all this about? He inherited that key? It was obviously important to you since you've gone to such lengths to hide it, so I took it. I don't know what it's for, but you took something precious from me, so I took something precious from you. So what if it means you can't open something now? I don't care. Give it back this minute. Give it to me! Calm yourself, witness. So Mr. Shakespeare has tried, and in one case succeeded, to take the life of 2 lodgers now. Yes, his motive for doing so is the key to everything that's happened. It's true that there appears to be no motive to support the accusation against Mr. Shakespeare, at first. But considering everything we now know, I think there is actually something that could explain it. what? I need to recall every piece of evidence at our disposal, everything we've seen and heard. Because I'm sure that I just caught a glimpse of the link that runs through all of these events. In that case, counsel, I must demand that you present evidence to the court in support of your claim. What is it that you say can explain the motivation for Mr. Shakespeare's alleged crimes? I think I know what it is too. Hold on. It should be over here. Nope, hold on, nope. The capital offenders file. Scotland Yard's file, but the convicted criminal still didn't include in the... Yeah.
Take that!
That's an official police report, is it not? The Selden file? How did you get a hold of that? Selden? The now sadly deceased Mr. Ross and the defendant, Mr. Natsume, have only one thing linking them. The fact that they had lodgings in the same room. Well, yes, we know this certainly. A room that was formerly occupied by Selden. Until, that is, he was arrested by Scotland Yard for his involvement in multiple burglaries. I see. And it so happens that the convict Selden left behind one very substantial mystery when he died. The same 1,000 pounds worth of loot that he stole, which as yet remains to be found? Ah, yes, of course, it's coming back to me now. It's written in his file here. 1,000 pounds lost en route to hell. That was how the paper summed it up. And it seems that one particular fellow inmate was with the convict in his final moments. It's not hard to imagine Selden entrusting the inmate with his most closely guarded secret, the location of the stolen loot, and perhaps a key to unlock whatever container the valuables were in. You mean this key is... Mr. Shakespeare, it was you, wasn't it? You were at the capital offender's side when he died, were you not? What are you talking about? 'Tis a false charge, I tell you. A false charge. The name of the inmate who was with Selden at his death isn't noted in this file, but a simple telegram to the prison where he died would quickly tell us how false the charge really is. But even if it's true, why would the man be so intent on killing every subsequent occupant of the convict's lodgings? There's only one explanation for that, my lord. It was in that very room that Selden hid his loot. So it all comes out. Yes, and having established that, all of Mr. Shakespeare's subsequent actions start to make perfect sense. When he was let out of prison following Selden's death, he made immediately for Mr. Garadev's lodgings in the hope of renting Selden's old room. However, the retired army man was unable to offer him the accommodation of his choice, because Selden's old room had already been let to somebody else, Mr. Duncan Ross. Which is why Mr. Shakespeare subsequently devised his gas-based plot to kill the occupant of the room. And when he was successful, he presumably intended to inquire about switching into a newly vacant room. However, a certain jittery someone had beaten him to it. Mr. Soseki Natsume, the defendant of this case, no less. So you decided to use the ploy with the gas again, didn't you, Mr. Shakespeare? This time, to oust Mr. Natsume. All for one simple, avaricious reason. To get your hands on the 1,000 pounds of loot left behind by the dead convict. Ugh, you. Ugh. Ah! Looks like I'm gonna snuff it before they get to stretch me neck. Listen, I want you to have me look. Anything to stop the coppers getting their mitts on it. It's hidden in the room where I was lodging when they got me. Here, this is the key to it. Take it. Always stay one step ahead, mate. See you in hell, I guess. Shakespeare. It's mine. What did he just say? It's mine. That loot is mine. Look at that. Mr. Shamspear? It's all lies. I don't accept any of it. Why should I? After all, you don't have a shred of evidence. You can't prove I killed that fella. Forsooth, I'm the victim here, remember? Isn't that right, ladies and gentlemen? If I don't admit to it, there's nothing you can do. You can arrest me, for the time being anyway. Barely, you can arrest the victim, can you? Isn't that right, ladies and gentlemen? I'm so close. I just need a few more hours. I swore to myself that I'd get my hands on it, and I can almost taste it now. Do you really think I just give up? There's no question in my mind now. This man is guilty through and through. But he seems so utterly intoxicated by the idea of that loot. I'm afraid that however hard you press him, he'll never admit to what he's done, Mr. Naruhodo. There is a way. Pardon? There's one way I can finish him. No! He's already committed the most heinous crimes to get his hands on that loot. Which means all we need to do is find it first. A fine plan. Were it not for the fact that the police thoroughly searched the room following the death of Mr. Ross. If it's there at all, it must be very well hidden indeed. Oh, no it isn't. I think I know where it is. Without conclusive evidence, I certainly cannot rule. If only there was some way we could find the convict's loot quickly. This is the final piece in this complex puzzle, but I think we might have it in our possession already. Or rather, I think we may well have something that can help us find where the loot is hidden. My lord. Yes, counsel. The defense would like to make a proposal about how to find the late convict's hidden loot. I believe we are already in possession of something that could give us a clue as to its whereabouts. Here we go again. It's our last chance, so it has to be worth the gamble. Besides, we've used the same technique once already, and it definitely paid off then. Very well then, counsel, let the court hear your idea. What do you propose we can use in order to locate the hiding place of the deceased convict's haul? Okay. Let me see if I can find it. No, not that one. The handprints on the wall. That's what I was looking for. I knew it. It's this one.
Take that!
If I'm not mistaken, those are Mr. Shamspear's handprints on the wall of his lodgings. That's right, my lord. Exposed as a result of the defense's independent investigation of the scene. Based on a wonderful new discovery in the field of forensic science by the great detective, Mr. Sholmes. A great detective? Is that some kind of joke? Do you really think I'm going to be daunted by a man with such a ridiculous title? I should think the great bard ought to recognize such a title when he hears one, Mr. Shamspear. Perhaps you should complete for the honor of the most ridiculous title. Ha! 'Tis Herlock Sholmes himself! What are you doing here, great detective? Your usual haunts are the filthy bastards of the capital, are they not? Ah, Mr. Reaper, it's been too long. And I see your complexion has worsened since last we met. Mr. Sholmes? He does know Lord Van Zieks then. Well enough to say something like that in any case. Mr. Sholmes? Though you may be heralded as a great detective by the population at large, that does not give you the right to come and go in my courtroom as you see fit. If I may, my lord, Mr. Sholmes' newly developed scientific method has helped us to uncover vital clues in this case already. Clues, you say? I call them skin prints, my lord. My method identifies every location touched by an individual under scrutiny. It's the method by which we were able to ascertain this gentleman's gas pipe activities. You need only a small sample of something the individual has previously touched to make an indicator solution. In your case, sir, I used the teacup you had been holding elementary. So now, Mr. Naruhodo. Ah, yes. What am I to use as an example to make the indicator solution this time? Thank you for offering to help, Mr. Sholmes. When the convict was arrested, he was living in what is now Sasaki-san's room. We need a sample to help locate Selden's loot that's hidden in his old room. What form will the sample take? Present the evidence, present the person. Person indeed. We will need something of Selden's in order to create the indicator solution to find his loot. And something that convict owned happens to be in the possession of somebody listed in the court record. Upon my word, Mr. Naruhodo, your powers of reasoning appear to be on the up. So, which particular person do you have in mind? From whom can we obtain a possession of the late convict Selden to create the indicator solution? Who else? Olive Green.
Take that!
Miss Green. Ah! Me? What do you want with me? The key around your neck, if you please. Sorry? That key belonged to Selden. There will be remnants of secretions from the man's skin on its surface that we can use. Very true. That is the sample we need. Using it, we can create the indicator solution required for Mr. Sholmes' skin print seeker. And find out exactly what Selden touched in the room that he used to rent. Ah! Mr. Shamspeare, as one great to another, I assure you, if the late convict's hall is hidden somewhere in his former lodgings, I shall uncover it no more than 30 minutes. Ugh. So, Mr. Shamspeare, the truth is well within our grasp now, and as such, you will never get your hands on Selden's stolen wealth. In that case, I'll gladly let Mr. Sholmes have this key. No! Give the key to me! The detective shan't have it! It's over, Mr. Shamspeare. No! No! You're out of options now. There's only one thing left for you to do. Admit your guilt. Whoa. Oh, shameful spear! Despair! Be thy name! We won, guys. We won. I never intended to kill the man. I just wanted to drive him out of the room, that's all. So you'd have time to find the convict's haul of stolen goods? Yet after you've killed the young man, you still didn't move into the room. I asked the landlord, of course. I pleaded with him, but he refused. Why? I was 3 months behind with the rent for one thing. Mr. Garrett really has had a lot to put up with. And he had the gas repair work done immediately afterwards, putting the room out of action for a while. And then, this Japanese man swooped in at just the right moment to sign the new lease. Poor Mr. Natsume. What an unfortunate timing. Then 5 days ago, after the incident on Briar Road when the Japanese fellow got himself arrested, I thought I'd finally have my chance. But it wasn't to be. No, the scene was sealed off and guarded by the police night and day. And, if I remember rightly, Mr. Sholmes spent the whole day in there reading books. I couldn't even enter the room, let alone search for the loot. Which is why on the day Mr. Natsume was acquitted and returned to his room, you once again tried your trick of blowing air into the gas pipe that feeds the stove in his room. Unbeknownst to you, however, that action would lead you into a deadly trap. William Shamspeare. How does it go? To be or not to be? That is the question. From Shakespeare's Hamlet, Act 3, Scene 1. Well, let me tell you in your case, it's not to be. That is the answer. You deserve to die for what you've done. At first, I really did think it was just a terrible accident. I'll never forget our conversation the night before Duncan died. The gas supply in my new lodgings are a complete disaster, you know, Olive. The gas supply? Yes, the stove always seems to go out in the middle of the night for some reason. That's no joke. They say it's the convict's curse. Oh, Duncan, please, don't stay there. I don't care how cheap it is. Alright then, if it's that important to you, I'll start looking for a new place. There are spare rooms at my house. Why don't you leave that horrible room tonight? No, I'd better not. We said we'd wait until we graduate before we told our parents, remember? But that was the last time we ever spoke. That very night, he fell victim to the gas. If only I'd known it was going to happen, I'd have insisted he left that horrible room that instant. But instead, all I've been left with is bitter regret. I stopped going to school, but something kept drawing me back to the house on Briar Road. I saw a stooped Eastern-looking man with a mustache coming out of the house one day when I was there. He walked up the road to grub Grubby's for some food, so I followed him and sat myself down next to him. He had some watery-looking soup and started to pick a quarrel with the publican. The place is cursed, I tell you. Cursed! The ghost of that convict who used to live there is trying to suffocate me. I wake up in the middle of the night, freezing to death because the stove has gone out. The room's full of gas and I can hardly breathe. But the pipes have been checked. No problem there. It's like I'm the problem. That's what they're thinking. But how could that be? Duncan was gone and now this man had almost suffered the same fate. Could it really be a curse? Then I remembered. A rumor I'd heard about how the gas companies go around investigating the gas installations. A rumor? Ah, you mean... Yes, everybody's heard the stories, it seems. About how they go around checking the pipes. How anything connected to the gas can be extinguished by blowing air into the pipework. That's when it started. A little flicker of doubt in the back of my mind that just wouldn't go away. Was it really an accident, though? Once I had the idea, it wouldn't leave me alone. It plagued me day and night. So I bought this at one of the black markets in the East End. Black market? I'd never been. I just heard people talk about them, and you really can buy anything you can think of there. In some ways, being able to get my hands on this so easily made me even more determined. I had to find out, one way or another. Was Duncan's death an accident? Or was it murder? And your chosen method for establishing the truth was simple, but highly effective. Smear poison in the gas pipe you suspected the man of tampering with, and wait. If Mr. Shakespeare was innocent, nothing would come up what you've done. But if he was guilty, I missed that. He would pay for his crimes dearly. I found out the name of the man I suspected, William Shakespeare, and then I wrote him this little note. I have information regarding the death of Duncan Ross. Come to the Slug and Salad on Briar Road at 5 p.m. on the 17th. Don't tell anybody else about this letter or the meeting. It is a matter of utmost importance. If he'd done it, I knew that would worry him enough so he'd be sure to go. So I waited to see if it worked. And of course, Mr. Shakespeare followed the instructions to the letter. I worked out where the gas pipe was straight away, so I smeared a good amount of the poison I bought all around the mouth of the pipe, all the time praying that the devil's work wouldn't be done, and that it was all just some wild fantasy. Actually, no. All the time praying that the devil's work would be done, and that the culprit would get his just desserts. Three days ago. Before this, guys, I really do feel bad for Olive, though. Like, it sucks that her fiance died, but oh, the length she went through to to get to this point. When you were first stood in the dock before me, this whole affair seemed relatively straightforward. Yes, my lord. I certainly never imagined the depths of depravity that we should subsequently find lurking behind the scenes. It has been a long road, my Nipponese friend. Oh, yes. And one I certainly didn't envisage walking with you. Nevertheless, together we have reached the light at the end of the tunnel, as it were. Miss Green? Yes, my lord. You will henceforth be stripped of your freedom, as punishment for the attempted murder of Mr. William Shamspeare. Yes, I know. And you, Mr. Shamspeare, you will be tried for the murder of Mr. Duncan Ross in cold blood, and the subsequent attempted murder of Mr. Soseki Natsume here present. Mr. Naruhodo? Ah, yes. Yesterday at the hospital, when you and your friend stopped me from ending your life by drinking what was left in the poison bottle, I wasn't myself. I can't even really remember what was going through my head. My mind. To be or not to be, I suppose. That's a question that's so hard to answer, it seems. Well, personally, I'm glad of your being here, Miss Green. Oh, and I'd like to believe that it's a blessing Mr. Shamspeare didn't die when he ingested the poison. For your sake, at the very least. What was the face? Because of you, I chose life, not death. And now, you've made the truth come out at last. Really, I can't thank you enough. Oh, Miss Green. Mr. Soseki Natsume. Yes, my lord. The court declares that you are exonerated from all blame in this matter. Accordingly, I would call upon the ladies and gentlemen of the jury to present a verdict of not guilty. We are in full agreement, my lord. In that case, I hereby declare the defendant. I'm waiting. Oh yes, we did it! Once more! Congrats, Natsume! Again! Court is adjourned. Alright guys, and with that, I'm going to end the video here for today. Thank you all for watching. We completed this trial, and we won. Thank you. We cleared his name. Oh, I'm happy for you, Natsume. Alright guys, so, as usual, thank you all for watching. Until the next one.